Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the second video in my uh, series of Excel videos, and in this video as well we are going to talk about the VLOOKUP function. Specifically, we are going to discuss the exact and approximate match in detail in this video. I touched on these topics in my first video on VLOOKUPs, but in this video I wanted to show you more examples of these searches, and specifically we are going to discuss all these topics. So let's start. Okay, so uh, firstly, what is the difference between the exact and approximate match? So in the first video as well, I gave you an introduction of approximate and exact match, but I'll specify that again. So when we, let's say when we do a VLOOKUP search, uh, so we look for the formula. We specify the first parameter, which is the looked up value. We take the table array. We specify the column we want to fetch. Let's say it's the fourth column, and then the fourth parameter is where we specify whether it's a true, approximate or exact match. So when you select the exact match, it will exactly look for this value in this table, and if it doesn't find it, it will throw an error. If we select this one, uh, firstly the sorry, this one approximate match, it only works on the numbers, uh, if we are looking up the numbers rather than text, and also those numbers should be arranged in ascending order, specifically not descending. So and again, you can either select this approximate exact match from here, or you can specify 0, which is the exact match, and 1, which is the approximate match. Okay, so this is the basic introduction of approximate and exact match. So I'll first start with some examples of uh, you know the exact match. So let's have a look at this example 1 here. This is a table containing the Aadhaar IDs of people and their name, address, and mobile numbers. Let's say I want to fetch the mobile number of any one of these other IDs. I have the other ID. I want to know the mobile number. Let's say I have this other ID. I want to fetch the mobile number of this other ID. Okay. So, sorry. So what do I do? I'll do a VLOOKUP exact match. So here I'll select the exact match, which is 0. So yeah, I got the mobile number of this corresponding to this Aadhaar ID. So this is exact match, a basic example. Now I want to show you, that how we can look up in this table across different tabs as well as in different Excels. So let's say this table is not here, and let's say it was in another tab. So I'll just copy this table here as well. Okay. So again, I don't want to look up in this table here, but on this tab. So equal to VLOOKUP this parameter. Now, where is the table array? It's in this tab. So I'll go to this tab. I select this table here. Okay. I don't need to go back there. I can still, without going back as well, I can continue with my, formula. So what I'll do, I want to fetch mobile number. So it's the fourth column, exact match 0. As soon as I hit enter, I'll be taken back to that tab. So the mobile number M3, which is the correct mobile number corresponding to 3456 Aadhaar ID. So this is looking up across different tabs in Excel. There is another way of searching, the looking up the table. So, or rather selecting the table. I'll show you quickly. So we go to this sheet now. Earlier we were selecting this table like this, and here you can see the range says D6 to G11 sheet 1. This is sheet 1. Range is D6, which is this cell, and to D11. Okay. Now this is not an. I think I touched this in my first video that this is this reference is not absolute. This is moving. Uh, okay. Now there is another way to select the range or the array. Rather than selecting this table, I'll just click on this column here, and I want all the 4 columns, so I'll extend this to 4 columns. Now look at what the formula says here. It says sheet 1 D to G. So entire D column to G column. Now this is an absolute reference because if you copy this formula, uh, this is not going to change. I'll show you how. Uh, if you if you are copying the formula from one cell to the below cells, but if you copy it uh, to another column, it will change. So I'll show you how. 40. Again, it is fetching the correct mobile number, right? Now what does it mean, that this is an absolute reference and this is a moving reference? So when I copy this formula in the below cells, let's say I had other Aadhaar number as well for which I wanted to fetch the uh, mobile number. So if I copy this formula to below cells, what happens? D7G11. Okay. So you see here the range for 3456 was D6 to G11 in sheet 1. For M1 for 1234 it's D7 to G12. So let's see what's D7 to G12 is this. So this will also cover all the IDs. But 2345 it's D8 to G13. D8 to G13. Again it will cover 2345. But let's see if 1234 was here and 2345 was here. Okay. Now as you see against 1234 it fetches NA. Why? Because the formula becomes in the formula the range becomes D8 to G13. So in this sheet D8 to G13 is this. Okay, this range, and 1234 is outside of this range. So this is what I meant by moving references. D6 to G11, when I copied it below cells, the range also changed. Yeah, and what is changing? D and G is not changing. The row number is changing. Why? Because here I'm changing the row number as well. Okay. Now this formula, when I selected the entire uh, column rather than only the table, what happens if I copy this formula in the below cells? It is fetching me the correct values, right? 1234 for 1234, the correct value is M1, right? So this is fetching the correct value. Why? Because see, the formula here has the range D to G. When I copy it in the below cells, it remains the same. Why it remains the same? Because there is no row number after D and G because I have selected the entire columns. Okay. But if I copy this formula in my in the next column, which is this H column, okay. If I copy this formula here, look at how the range changes. See, it has become E to H uh, rather than D to G. It has become E to H. What is E to H? E to H is this, and it excludes the other ID column, so it will never fetch any value because this is where we are matching the other ID from this column, right? So when I copied this down, nothing, NA. So again, if you want to copy formula from one column to the other column, you have to make the column names absolutes. Okay. So what should I do here? I will add a dollar symbol here before DNG. Now I copy below, it will fetch correct result because the range remains the same. And if I copy this again across to H column, it will still remain the same, uh, DNG, because I have made DNG or column names absolute. Okay. Oh no, there is one more catch here. Uh, I have I have copied the column, sorry, the formula here from here to here, and the table range is not changing. But you have to see that the first parameter, which is the looked up value E15, it becomes F15 here, which means it's searching for M3 or mobile number in D2G, first column, other ID. So it's matching mobile number with other ID. So when you're copying the formula across from one column to another, you also have to change, you also have to make absolute the looked up value parameter as well, and the column for that. So I'll add a dollar here. I'll not add dollar to 15 because if I had made 15 also as absolute, let's see what happens here. Firstly, let's copy this formula across to below cells. Okay. Now it's fetching the correct value because when I copied it from here to here, nothing has changed, right? Neither the first parameter nor the range is changing. And when I copied it below, only the row number is changing, E15, 16, 17, which means these three other IDs. And we want them to change. If I had made the the row number also absolute by adding the dollar, let's see what happens. Here it will again fetch the wrong value because why? Because E15, look at when I move down, nothing changes. So in this as well, it is looking up E15, which is 3456 in this table here in this sheet. So it is again fetching M3, right? Similarly, if I copied this formula here as well and again copy it below, it will still fetch M3 because I have made this also as an absolute value. So these are the things you have to take care of when you are looking up, uh, when you're looking up across different ranges. If your range is not absolute and you're copying formula from one column to another or one row to another, uh, you have to verify that the ranges and the parameters are changing correctly. Okay, uh, so looking up across different sheet in Excel is done. Similarly, we can look up across a different Excel as well. So let's say this table was in a different Excel here. Okay. Now I will apply the VLOOKUP across the table. VLOOKUP. I go to that Excel. I'll select the four columns completely, or you can also select the table. Fourth column, exact match. As soon as I hit enter, it takes me back to the same Excel, and then I can copy the formula, searching with the correct results. Right. Okay. So this is the variation of how you can look across different sheets and Excels. Now, uh, let's have a look at another example of exact match where I'm going to show you a limitation of exact match. Let me tell you first in theory that if there are multiple matches are found in your VLOOKUP exact match, then the VLOOKUP fetches only the first value, okay, or the value corresponding to the first match. Let me show how. So this is a table containing the name of students and their maths marks. Let's say I want to fetch the marks for Ajay. Okay. So I apply a VLOOKUP in this table. Second column for marks. 0 is for exact match. I get 85. So Ajay has 85 marks, which is correct. Now, as you can, if you can see here, there are two Anils in this table. What if happens if I uh, look up for Anil's marks? Which one it will fetch? It will fetch the first one. So this is the limitation of exact match in VLOOKUP, that if there are multiple matches found, it fetches only the first found value or the value corresponding to the first match found. Okay. Now, I think there is another example that I wanted to show you, which focuses on uh, we looking up the string or text value. But I think I have already done it in this example, so we don't need that. So I'll skip this example here. Now we'll move on to approximate match. So I told you earlier that approximate match only works if we are looking up numbers, or yeah, if you are looking at numbers, and that too they should be arranged in ascending order. Okay. So in what cases, and I also touched upon the basic approximate match in my first video, and I think so I'll again repeat how it works. So let's say I have, let's say Anil has 74 marks. Okay. Uh, so what will it do if I apply an approximate match here from the above table? I want to fetch the grade of Anil. I select one for approximate match. What does it fetch? It fetches C. Why does it fetch C? So how does approximate match works? So it looks up for the value that you want to look up. If it finds the exact value, let's say 75 in this case, it will fetch the correct value. Okay. So in this case, it's fetching the grade B. If it doesn't find a value, it keeps looking until it reaches or it finds a value which is bigger than this value. In this case, it is 75. And when it finds such a value, it fetches the previous result. So in this case, it will fetch grade for the marks 60. So see, this is how an approximate match works. Okay. Now, what is the use of this approximate match? So let's say we have a criteria to define the grades for students. If the marks are between 0 to 36, they fail. From 36 to 60, the graded is D, and so on, right? I'll just remove this one. This is not required. So how can we turn that into a table and fetch the correct grade? So this, so as I told you, uh, the way approximate match works, if it finds something less than 36 and greater than 0, it will fetch fail, right? So let's say I am looking of someone has got 35 marks. It will look up for 35 marks in this table. If it doesn't find, as soon as it finds a bigger value than that, which is 36, it will fetch the previous value. What does it mean? It means for 0 to 35, it will fetch fail, right? And it is exactly what we have defined here as criteria. For 0 to 35 marks, the grade is fail. So if I want to fetch the grades for these students who have received, let's say 44, 33, 78, and 98 marks, I'll do approximate match. Okay, we look up this value, stable, second column is the grade, and then one for approximate match. I will copy this formula here. Let's see if these grades are correct or not. Anil has got 33 marks. Okay, so there is no 33. As soon as it encounters 36, which is bigger than 33, it will fetch the previous value, which is fail. And our criteria also says that between 0 to 36, 36 excluded, the result is fail. So he's fail. Suresh got it, 78 marks. 75 to 80, 78 falls between 75 to 85. Grade is B. Yeah, it fetched the correct value. Ajay got 98 marks. Okay. So in case it doesn't find a value in this table and no value is bigger than the looked up value, it will fetch the last value. Okay, because it keeps searching for 98, it doesn't find 98. It also doesn't find any value bigger than 98. Here there is no more uh, records, there are no more records in the table, so it will fetch the last value. Yeah, which should happen because if there was 100, it would have fetched again the previous value, which is 95. If there was a 98, it would have fetched the exact value against 98. Yeah. So this is how we can utilize approximate match for classifying or characterizing uh, ranges. This is one example. Another example could be, how much does a salesperson gets gets as commission, how much percent for a particular amount of sales. Yeah. I hope this will give you a fair idea of how we can use this. Now I'll go to another example to show you the limitation of approximate match. As I told you earlier, it only works if we are looking up numbers and that they should be arranged in ascending order. Now in this table, they are not arranged in ascending order. So let's see how it behaves now. We'll copy the same marks for these three students. I'll do a VLOOKUP approximate match 2 and 1. Let's copy this. So let's see if these are correct values. So now the criteria was 0 to 36 fail. So 33 fail is correct. 78 is between 75 and 85. So it should be B, but it's fetching D. 98 is between is about this, so it has fetched the correct value. Let's say it was instead of 98, it is 66. What does it fetch? D. So 60 to 75 it should have been C, but it is fetching D, right? So this is how it randomly fetches values if the numbers are not arranged in an ascending order. So this is not useful here. Now let's take another example which is also a limitation of this. Let's say that we want to look up text instead of numbers. So we can't arrange text in ascending orders, right? So let's say I want to fetch the share price of these companies, okay, from this table. So I'll do a VLOOKUP. I want to fetch the share price with third column, one for exact approximate match. Right, great. Now let's see if it is fetching the correct value. TCS, what is the share price? There is no TCS, but it's fetching 3100, which is very odd, right? It is not there at all. Infosys is fetching nothing. Okay, I guess we forgot to do one thing, which is uh, we did not make the table range absolute, so we'll do it again. I hope I have done it here. Yeah. So yeah, I think we have to make these ranges as absolute because as you can see, if as I move down, the range is changing, which should not happen. So I'll add a dollar symbol. Sorry, it is still fetching the same value, so the results haven't changed. Okay, again, we'll do it here as well. So it has changed, but I guess it again is wrong, or is it correct? Yeah. So for Anil, it is fetching the correct value. 33 is fail. For Suresh, 78, 6, 75, 85 B. It's fetching the correct value. 66. It should be C, but it is fetching D. So this is wrong. So yeah, I think the point here is if they are not arranged in ascending order, it will fetch random values sometimes correct value. So outcome is quite random. Now coming back to the example for looking up text values here. Um, so again, I'll make the range table ranges absolute. So when I copy this, what do I get? TCS 3100, TCS is not here. Infosys 2200, Infosys is 3100, wrong value again. PTM is not there but still fetching 90, 190. ITC it is fetching correct value. Zomato 3100, which is wrong. So it so the point is it doesn't work on text. The approximate matches doesn't work on text, and also not on the numbers which are not arranged in ascending order. Okay. Uh, yeah. So I guess that's it. I have covered all the topics. I covered all the limitations as well. I hope this video is useful to you. I'll come up with more videos on VLOOKUP. So keep watching. Thanks.